Good afternoon. My name is Jim Bennett. I'm a 100% disabled veteran with PTSD. It took a suicide attempt to get attention from the federal government because I was living in a shack without a shower. They have the money. They spent over $1 trillion on Afghanistan. I worked in the Pentagon before 9/11. I went to Afghanistan in 2011 and 2012. They have the fucking money. Won the fucking war, but we lost. They have money to fix your water heater and get you a hot damn shower. Hot water is a human right. There are people in third world countries. I've been there. They live in a higher standard of living than the people across the street that have a boarded up window. Okay? You do not have to drive a car to walk to one of these slumlord stations. It's all around us. None of the people that work in here live in here. So quit taking their shit. I'm done with the bullshit. I'm fed up. You have 22 suicides a day with veterans. We're only 6% of the population, so we don't get attention. We're here today because everything sucks. Insurance went up. Groceries went up. Who can afford to go grocery shopping? You? Can you? Groceries, rent, car, right? If it costs you $300 to fill your car with groceries for a family of 4, it costs you $1,500 for a 3-bedroom house that doesn't have a backyard. Forget having a dog. Forget having children. The American dream is a nightmare. To get a degree I can't use from MSU. Okay? The possibilities, the opportunities are here. But get to work 80 hours a week to pay fucking rent. That ain't right. That ain't right. Don't do that high. Housing purchasing is impossible for most of us. Try getting 20% down on a mortgage. They'll laugh at you. You need primary mortgage insurance. What the fuck is that? A week to scrape by, and the landlord ain't fixing shit. And you gotta fix the stuff yourself. Hey, can I get with you first? I went out there and bought some valves and I think, oh, you know, thanks for doing that, but we're not gonna hire a plumber. I have friends of mine had to wait over 60 days. Most of them done it. Just to get a plumber to show up to their house because the landlord wanted to shop around for the cheaper person.
A lot of people would say that my life story is the embodiment of the American dream. I was born to a single mom. We were poor for most of my childhood, faced a lot of hardship, a lot of adversity. We were homeless at times. Eventually, towards the end of high school, her substance abuse, her mental health took a decline. I started living on my own at 17. We were estranged, yada, yada, yada. I worked really hard my whole life, did well in school, got almost a full ride to BC, graduated right out of school. I had a 6-figure job. I would say I'm pretty successful now. So you might think I would sit here and say, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Work hard. The American dream is real. Hell no, it's not. It's not real. And part of it's real, but it is built on so much privilege and luck. And no one ever talks about that part. And I have so many stories I can share about how I made it by the skin of my teeth. And to this day, I'm still fighting so hard because it's hard to support yourself fully on your own and have no family as a backup. And all those stories are in the book that I'm writing and hopefully we'll have out one day. But today I thought I would focus on the stars that aligned and the luck I had that allowed me to be successful, because people always say like, why can't this person just work harder, blah, blah, blah. There's so many things that get in the way, and there's so many things in areas where I lucked out that allowed me to like achieve the American dream, and I wanted to address those and why other people aren't in the same position I'm in or other successful people are. Because yes, there are a lot of people that are born into poor families and make it out and are rich and are wealthy, but there's way more people that are born into the same fate, work as hard or even harder, and don't get the same results. So my number one privilege, education. So first of all, I was born and raised Massachusetts. Best education in the country. I couldn't afford to go to a private school, obviously, so I went to public schools. I also happened to luck out and that I went to Grafton Public Schools and Tantasco Public Schools, which are both really good school systems. They had AP classes, they had honors classes, National Honor Society, college prep. If I had gone to a school where the education wasn't as good, there weren't as many class offerings, they didn't help me apply to college, who knows where I'd be. And not only the school systems, like my mom, she fell off a little bit towards the end of my childhood, but she was a great mom when I was younger, and she read to me every night, and she taught me how to do math, and she told me like, you will go to college no matter what. She was the first in her family to go to college. She didn't even graduate. I'm a first generation college graduate, and that's because of my mom. And some people don't have parents that tell them that or sit down with them and teach them how to do things. And side note, reading is supposed to be taught by parents, not by teachers. So anyways, I lucked out in the education department. Number two, I'm an only child. And you might be thinking like, why does that matter? But I didn't have any younger siblings to support or parents to support. So to back that up a little bit, I'm an only child. I always think about how when I was 5 years old, my mom had just married my stepdad and asked me, do you want a younger sibling? I don't know if she listened to me specifically, but I said no. And I'm like, thank God, because imagine if when I was supporting myself on my own, putting myself through college, working all these shifts at a restaurant, whatever, if I also had a sibling who was 6 years younger than me, who my mom couldn't take care of, I would have felt the burden to take care of them. And I know so many people who are the oldest child or have younger siblings and don't go to college so they can stay in their hometown and work and support their younger siblings. I was so lucky not to have that. And also with my mom, like, I supported us for a while, and then when I was 17, I was like, I'm out. I'm living on my own. I'm done supporting you. I gave her some money here and there. And this, like, I'm not proud of this. This eats me up. Sometimes I think I should have supported her more. It's a very complicated situation, but like, I wasn't supporting my mom at the end of the day. Some people have to support their parents or help their parents pay the bills. So I was very privileged in that I was only supporting myself. Lastly, I'm white. And maybe you're thinking like, oh, the race card, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not even gonna dive into the whole like systemic racism and how I benefited from that. I'm just gonna talk about how I was doing some shady stuff. Mainly it was because I was poor and I was fighting for my life. But for example, I got pulled over for driving without insurance. I got pulled over for driving with a suspended license. I got pulled over after buying weed in a Cumbies parking lot. And I didn't really get in trouble for any of it. And I think a large part of that is like, look at me, like innocent, white, redhead girl. I got away with murder. And who's to say, like, maybe if I was black, if I was a person of color, maybe everything would be the same. I doubt it would be. And I know that in high school, when I was on welfare, when I was homeless, people audibly would make comments to me like, oh, look at that, like, poor girl on food stamps, whatever, because they like dressed worse than me, because they were a person of color, whatever. So I benefited infinitely from that. And the list goes on and on and on. I could talk about how I'm not disabled, how I'm not undocumented, whatever. My point is that the American dream, it's real for some people. Hard work can get you places, but only to a certain extent. And this country is systemically built for the rich to benefit, for the white to benefit, for a certain class of people to benefit. And I think we've lost sight of the true American dream of everyone being equal, everyone having opportunity, and not just a select few.
So my take on the last girl, she said America was built for the rich and for the Caucasians, right? Like, it's crazy. So when people keep talking about the American dream, you would wonder, like, what would you have to do? Go to school, go to college, do the right thing, work 40 to 80 hours a week, put in the work, and still you're barely paying up your bills. Like, you live from paycheck to paycheck. So it's really hard to fathom the in quotes what the American dream is all about.
From 1948 to 1973, for 25 years, the U.S. economy was so amazing that you could conceivably get a job. I mean, a regular job. I don't mean an amazing job. Just a job. And the pay would be so high and the benefits so amazing that you could not only afford to buy a house and feed your family, you might be able to send your kids to school and you might be able to retire really well. That was the only time, in fact, in human history where a person could work and make wealth. Because if you look at the middle class today in the United States, they don't make wealth. They barely get by. But for 25 years, people were prospering. If people aren't fretting about food, if they're not worried about shelter, if they're not in constant fear that the economic situation they're in will collapse, they have mind space to start to ask bigger and better questions. Wait a minute, what about civil liberties? What about civil rights? What about human rights? And the next thing you know, by 1954, 6 years into this explosive economy, we're in the middle of a revolution.
So the American dream is a lie. And before you scroll on, hear me out. I'm sure once it was made originally, it was probably actually somewhat true. But over the years, the way that the system has changed to basically put us at a disadvantage has a lot of implications. And let me get into it here. So think about the idea of the American dream. It says if you work hard enough, you can achieve your dream. You can live a good life. Just work hard. And what the implications of that is saying that if you don't live your dream, then you're not working hard enough. You're lazy, right? You just need to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and you need to work harder and then you'll get your dream. And that kind of makes sense, except for it's ignoring all the systemic changes and issues that literally are fighting against us being able to accomplish this American dream. Like, let's just look at how basically, who does that benefit, right? Like, we have to pick ourselves up, we have to work harder, right? Well, we're working for someone, right? So that's making those people richer, right? It's not actually, helping us very much. We're getting a couple more hours a day, maybe with our third or fourth job, but it's like, it's mainly putting money to the top, to the people that own the companies. And then not only that, but if we decide to go out on our own, it's extra hard because we have to earn like triple the amount of money that we would in a job, or double, I would say double the amount of money that we would in a job because of healthcare. Because basically in our system, healthcare is tied to our job at this point. So if we quit our job, we're basically gonna die. You know what I mean? Like, we can't get healthcare for our family. Like, not only that, but like, think about how everything has gotten more expensive. Inflation has gone crazy. But how much have they been paying us? What's the minimum wage? That stayed about the same. You know what I mean? Like, it has not increased. The housing costs has increased exponentially. Like, there's so many things that have make it so that the American dream is not sustainable, not obtainable, and is literally propaganda at this point. And that is what so many people still believe. And they just believe that they're lazy, or people that are lazy that aren't working hard enough. When the American dream was set, it wasn't the world that we're living in today. It was way more obtainable. It was possible to start your own business and to get a job and to get a job at McDonald's and succeed. And have a house and have a family and afford everything you would want. But that's not how it is anymore. So the American dream today is a lie.
The American dream, I believe, is dead for the middle class, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm a 34-year realtor, just going into my 35th year. And I witnessed many up and down markets, but never a market that I thought would be a permanent buyer's market, which I think we're going into. I had a conversation this afternoon with a colleague that really brought the point home that the American dream from here on out will be unachievable for most people. And here's the reason. It's like a quadruple storm. We had tremendous appreciation of home prices over the last several years, probably about 40%. In the same amount of time as home prices go up, so does property insurance and so does insurance, homeowners insurance. In addition, we're looking at 6.5% to 7% interest rates. So in 2000, 1920, it took $59,000 to buy an average home. Today, it takes about $107,000, just 4 years later, to buy an average home. Where you live, you probably notice there's a proliferation of high-rise apartment buildings going up. These are not condos where you can buy. These are rental units. In addition, over the last several years, the hedge funds have bought over 800,000 middle-class, single-family homes that take them out of the market for the average buyer. We probably have about 2.5 million units available between the hedge funds and the 3,000 apartment buildings that are going up all over the country. The whole idea is to force the middle class into rental units. Think about this. To buy an average home today, let's say it's about $450,000, it's going to cost you about $30,000 between your closing costs and your down payment. Your payment of the home is going to be about $3,500, considering principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Well, you can rent a beautiful place for about $3,500, maybe even less, and you don't have to put that $35,000 down. You take that difference and invest it, I guess, in the market or some other investment. But I believe this is deliberate. This is a deliberate conspiracy to keep the middle class from buying homes. I heard that this was going to happen about 10 or 15 years ago. I didn't believe it, but it's playing out right before our eyes.
What actually happened to the American dream? Inflation, racism, classism. A lot of people, even for Africans and immigrants that came here, we are sold the American dream by the Western media. And a lot of us believed it. A lot of us killed ourselves trying to come to this place because we thought we're gonna get a little bit something, at the table. But unfortunately, even for the Americans, it's quite harder than you would expect. Someone said the only time you get to experience the American dream, or the only time the American dream happens, is when you are asleep, and that's the only way you believe it, when you are asleep. As soon as you wake up, reality will set in.
So you wake up early in the morning to go to work to pay for a house that you're never at. And you pay for a car that primarily gets you from and to work, correct? The government takes anywhere from, let's say 30 to 50% of your wages. And then there's things like VAT, which is basically your money getting taxed that was already taxed. You save up your whole life for a pension, which at the end of the day, the government takes 40 to 50% of that. Then in your elder years, you're living off canned soup and fucking bread, because that's all you can afford. And then you get your state pension, which you can't get until you're like 180 years old. And even with that, if you die before you get it, you can't even pass it down to your kids. The government takes it. We are all getting scammed so fucking bad. It's almost comical. People don't see this shit. How can you work 40 or 50 hours a week, especially nowadays, to pay for fucking nothing? So figure 200 hours a month, you give your life to a corporation, and then halfway through the month, you're struggling to get to payday. Sounds pretty fucking familiar, doesn't it? We're giving our lives away for nothing. It is a scam. We're losing more by going to work than staying our asses home. All a big scam. It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it.
So, man, it's not easy out here at all.
Even as wonderful as it sounds, the American dream is a myth. 1% of Americans control 36% of all wealth in this country. And 10% of Americans control 75% of all wealth in this country. Which leaves the 90% of us working class Americans scraping the bottom of the barrel for the 25% of scraps left over. We are slaves to this corporate system. Democracy does not run this country. The wealthy do. We know this because our politicians are bought and paid for. for? How many of you actually enjoy what you do for a living? Or do you just like the fact that you are able to survive off of the income that is provided from that job? That is called wage slavery. Most Americans have been forced into wage slavery. The federal poverty line for a full-time job is $7.60, but the federal minimum wage is $7.25. These made-up inflation numbers keep going up, and our children are fighting for their lives. All the while, our politicians are just waiting on the next corporate paycheck to tell them how to think next. The American dream is a lie fed to us by the corporate elite so that we continue to be good little workers in the hopes that someday we'll be like them. Roughly 10% of the top 1% were from families that were not in the top percent. That means you have a 10% chance of making the American dream come true. And that doesn't take into factors like sex or race or disabilities. The ultra wealthy are not your friends. In fact, they couldn't be further from it. So the next time you go to vote, pay attention to who's bankrolling your politicians and who is aiming to cut taxes for the rich, because trickle-down economics has never worked. Learn.
Listen, if you still want to come to America because you believe in the American dream, let me tell you something. That dream died like 30 plus years ago, and now we're living in a dream that involves paying $10 for a dozen of shitty fucking eggs, paying $2,000 a month for an apartment in the ghetto that's about 700 square feet and it has no walls. And then if you want to go to university here, you're looking at around $100,000 for a 4-year education. That's on the low end. But in those 4 years, you might get shot because everyone seems to want to shoot each other for some ungodly reason. Then you're going to graduate thinking, oh, I graduated, I have a degree now, I'm going to get a good job. Your good job is going to pay you about $40,000 starting off, maybe, and then they're going to say you're going to work 40 hours a week. When in reality, you're going to be working about 50 plus hours a week because they're going to guilt trip you in by saying, we're a family, we're a team, we help each other. And they're not going to pay you overtime for that, because why would they? If they get your help for free, why would they pay you for that? Okay? Then there's no work-life balance. That company you're working for now doesn't want to give you vacation days until like maybe your second year working there. And those vacation days are maybe 4 days out of the whole entire year. That includes holidays. All right? Then if you're sick, too bad, you still have to come to work. Okay? Then if you want to buy groceries, your groceries are going to be your whole entire paycheck because no one can afford to eat here anymore. Got it? I go to the grocery store for 4 things. It's like $50. I'm just saying it sucks living here. I don't want to live here. I want to leave. So maybe you should rethink your whole American dream because it's not what it's all cracked up to be. Okay? Okay, love you. Bye.
They said the only time America was ever great was the only time people actually achieved the American dream was from 1948 to 1973. Like, this is unimaginable. And all this while, the Western media has been selling the fact that once you come to America, all the Americans are literally living their best lives. Like, they are literally doing well. When I got here and having the opportunity to have traveled to almost 48 states, I've seen it firsthand. Americans are literally living from hand to mouth, from paycheck to paycheck. I know you have some of the wonderful stuff, you see around us, but you're barely even enjoying it. I've seen your type of houses, like, I was like, that was not the house that was sold to us, from Hollywood movies. Like, something is not adding up. The math ain't mathing. So I'm really happy that white people are beginning to come out to see these things, and black people are like immune because literally half of their lives, they've been living this way. They've been living from paycheck to paycheck because of systematic and institutionalized racism. So it's not new to black people. Black people, in a way, are immune. They pay their, struggle to pay their bills and stuff like that. Not all of them, though, but for the most part, like, it was unthinkable. The first time I saw a white beggar on the street, although before coming here, I've seen, movies, places in Philadelphia and, other places, even here. When I saw a lot of homeless, Caucasians, I was like, no, I've never seen this in any of your movies. But they are not showing that America has homeless people crisis, and it's not showing it enough. I can't understand why Americans pay taxes, and the people are living from paycheck to paycheck, and you have the highest number of homeless people in the world. Even in Africa, the so-called third world country that you refer us, we don't even live like that. So
me as a millennial is pissed the fuck off. All we did was get fucking scammed. We were told that if we went to school we got good grades, we got a good job, that we would be able to work hard, have the American dream, be able to own our own home, have a family of whatever that might look like, be able to own what we want and be comfortable doing so. We were told work hard. Even though we're the generation that works the hardest, in my opinion, we're told we're fucking lazy. Well, I'm here to tell you, I work between 52 and 55 hours a week. I make decent money. I have a decent job. And I don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. I can't help but to look at what my parents had when they were my age, when they were 32, 33 years old. They already owned their own home. They had their own car. They had me. They owned everything in their home. They had a decent amount of money. And my mom had a pretty okay job. We were very middle class. But it's like middle class now is if you're making over $100,000 a year. And what job is going to give you that? If you were to get an apartment where I live is $1,500. You need first, last, and security. Who has $4,500 to just throw around? I make decent money, but it's like the American dream is a fucking scam. And then we elect this big fat ass, orange Oompa Loompa ass looking fucking bitch, put him in office, and I feel like we're never gonna see the American dream. We're the hardest working generation, and we're just getting fucked. The American dream that we were told that we were promised to get, the same people that told us that we were gonna get it, they don't give a fuck. They just call us lazy and tell us to strap up our bootstraps. Well, we're trying to. We're making good money. We're trying to make the right decisions, and we still don't have a pot to piss in, and we're almost middle fucking aged.
I'm sorry, but the American dream never fucking existed. Like, what? Your dream is to work until you are 65 and decrepit and not be able to make ends meet the entire time? Like, I'm sorry, but that just does not sound remotely appealing to me. It's not even about the dream anymore. Like, people are literally just trying to afford living in America. And here's the thing, if you are working for America, you will never be able to live your dream life in America. Like, and I know that most of you have probably already scrolled by now because you don't think it's possible to live in America without working for America. I was a server at the beginning of 2023. I quit my serving job. I started affiliate and digital marketing in April of 2023. And have now made almost $300,000 working online, and none of that came from my serving job. So if you are genuinely interested in working for yourself, starting an online business, check out the roadmap. It's at the top of my page. It literally shows you everything that you need to know to make money online, to start digital marketing. But I promise your dreams are so much more achievable than you think they are, but you're probably not going to reach very many of them by living that American dream life.
I'm just gonna say it because nobody else is saying it, even though we're all thinking it. The American dream is to leave America. I traveled the world for 6 months straight by myself. 4 months in Asia, 2 months in Europe. And no, don't come at me. I've been on my own since I was 18 years old. And yes, of course, I'm blessed to be an American. I'm blessed to have a strong passport. And I'm blessed that I've been able to start my own business and travel the world. But I'm telling you, I've been home for over a year now. There's not one city in the United States that makes my soul feel alive, that makes me feel like I have community, that makes me feel like people are loving and respectful and not divided and judgmental. It's toxic here. We have no love here. People literally think that I'm the crazy one. And I'm like, you guys, we're falling apart. I find so much more love and so much more support, so much more community in Bali. I'm in Spain. When I'm in Italy. When I'm in Thailand. I've traveled to 10 different countries by myself. I'm telling you, being here will strip your soul. I say this because I want to see if anyone else is feeling this way. And if you need help, like I want to get out as well and I need direction to make money online and support myself financially abroad, please contact me. I'm a business coach. I can help you.
There was never a dream. The dream was never there, you know, because I can just imagine you see if 70-year-old, 75, even 80 and 90 still working because they said they have come out of retirement in order to pay for either their mortgage or to pay for those that didn't pay off their mortgage or to pay for property tax. So you can have your house paid up and still pay property tax. Unlike in Africa and in Nigeria specifically, once you have a house, you build a house, it's yours. No government is gonna tell you, oh, you should pay property tax, pay this, nothing. You pay levy here and there, but that is negligible amount, you know, compared to what is being paid here. So guys, what do you think about this, white Americans reacting or never believing in the American dream, saying that the American dream is literally dead? Meanwhile, the black people have been managing, they've been used to it, they've been surviving it, they've been living it, and it's like a shocker to the concussions now that they are seeing it firsthand that there was never an American dream to even begin with. So drop your opinions and thoughts in the comment section. Please, if you haven't subscribed by now, kindly subscribe on this channel and also share this video with your friends. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.